everyone, and welcome down to episode number 87, the Devil's number, if you're a cricket fan, of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia, and Cam Blake in Hobart, Tasmania, on the other screen or in your other ear. Hello, Cam.
Hello, Brendan. Hello, everyone. How are we all going? Yes, it is 87. 13 to go after this, or was it 12 after this? 13.
13, that's right.
We're going to have to do something massive for 100.
I think it's on the cards. There's talk of it possibly coinciding with BFOP, but who knows?
You're not invited today.
Apparently not. No. Apparently, I asked if I could come, but no, I can't.
And even when you buy tickets and you don't come, they don't refund you.
Bad luck. Yeah. Tough. We'll have your money, but you can't come. That's weird, isn't it? It's kind of a weird way to run a business, I would have thought.
It's a very cold and harsh way to run a festival, I would have thought. But hey, we're not here to judge.
No, we're not. We're not.
We'll do that behind the scenes like a couple of bitches.
That's exactly right. We won't do it to their face.
No, we're too scared to do that.
Here we are again. We just made comment of the fact that we are recording an episode while the first session of the fourth test is going on. And Cam and I don't mind a bit of cricket. So Cam's being massively distracted by his huge TV above his monitor there, but that's okay.
Yes. Hey, remember we went to a cricket match once? Remember that one?
I do. And you got tickets to the 2015 Cricket World Cup for us. It was sensational.
Remember that first ball by Stark?
I don't remember the first ball, but I definitely remember the second ball that took out.
Was it the second ball? Was it?
Took out McCullum's off stump, I believe.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not a cricketing podcast. We're not a photography podcast.
No.
Or a political podcast. So
no, we're definitely none of the above. And there's been a lot of all of that in the news, and we're not even going to talk about it. We're here to talk photography. So thank you to the 581 subs we have on our YouTube channel, and milestone, we passed 10,000 downloads of our podcast. So that's pretty cool. That's a big number.
That's a lot of people listening.
It is. Thanks to everyone who's listened. That's across all the podcast platforms. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google whatever they call their thing, Podbean, all of it.
I didn't even know Google did podcasts, did they?
Yeah. And we're on it.
Now, we did change up a few things with our podcast release, didn't we?
Yeah, and we'd be interested to get people's feedback, because that's what it's all about. It's an interactive medium these days.
Yeah, I did a bit of research, and I was looking around. I'm like, do people actually listen to podcasts on Friday afternoons, or do they go and, like, I know when I was in Melbourne the other week doing the OM days, I was listening to stuff on the train on the way in, but I made sure I had all that sort of loaded up before I had on the train the night before or whatever. So we released our podcast on Monday morning, I think it was, or Tuesday morning?
Monday morning. 7 a.m. Monday morning.
7 a.m. Monday morning. So if you guys are listening in your car on the way to work, or you're listening on the train or the bus on the way to work, Monday morning is your morning to download the episode and plug your ears in and just tune out all the rubbish that goes on in trains and cars and buses and stuff like that. So
I think for now we'll probably stick to the format of releasing the YouTube video on the Friday night or the Friday evening. Yeah. But the actual audio version of the podcast will go up on a Monday, just for the foreseeable future. Yeah. So we can see if that reaches more ears, I guess.
That's what we want. We want to be between people's ears more.
Absolutely. Now, also, we have Cam has just put up the People's Choice for our June photo competition, the weather competition. We had our winner, which was Barry Povey. Well done, Barry, again. Barry. But now it's over to you guys to vote. We've put the top 5 up. It was a complete fluke that Cam and I both chose the same 5 images. Otherwise, there'd be a top 10, but there's not. So there's 5 images there for you to go and check out on our Facebook. Yeah, Facebook page.
Yeah, on the Facebook page. It's not on the website because you can't like stuff on the website.
True.
But you can go onto the Down South Photo Show Facebook page and go and like your favorite top 5. You can like them all. Doesn't matter. But at the end of July, we're going to tally them all up. So you got 2 weeks or a week and a bit. At the end of July, we're going to tally them all up, and whoever has the most likes, will get a $100 voucher from us as well. Now, if that's Barry, do we give Barry another $100?
Oh, yes. No, absolutely.
All right.
We do. So, but that our choice was for his photo. The people's choice may not be.
Maybe. So I don't want to tell people not to vote for Barry, but
No,
you know,
we don't want to bias this in any way. We don't want to prejudice this in any way. Get over, check it out. I'll say it again. The quality of the images that were entered into that competition was out bloody standing.
It was. Yep. Actually, like I said, if you look at those top 5, I would happily have any of those top 5 in my portfolio.
Absolutely.
And probably the top 10 and top 20 that were there as well. So,
true. It just happens to be they were the 5 we chose. No, that's exactly
it just means we've got a really talented group of listeners, which is great. Hey, last episode.
Nice.
That's a new one. Last episode we spoke about, we had a question out there. Who would be willing to destroy their camera?
Yes.
If they had to get the greatest shot of all time.
Yes.
And if you go back to watch episode 86, you were like, I reckon everyone would destroy their cameras. And I'm like, oh, maybe not. Yeah. And I reckon based on the responses we've got, I think some people are more thrifty with their dollars than we are. They're like, I'm not gonna throw my camera away for a photo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was pushing more the fact that people would said it would have to be a damn good bloody photo.
I think people have got to take it with a grain of salt insofar as I have an avenue where I can sell my photos quite regularly, and I do.
Yes. Yeah.
So, if I got that once in a lifetime shot, it's going to way more than pay for the replacement camera. So I guess that's the angle I was coming from, but I completely understand the feedback that was given. I did come off as quite the wanker.
No more than usual.
No, exactly. So it was an interesting discussion. Actually, I liked it. There was there was comments flying left, right, and center. If you would like to comment on anything that we talk about, hit us up on Facebook or hit the comments below this very YouTube video. You can also leave comments on most podcast channels as well. So knock yourself out. We do look at them.
Do you know? Yeah, we do look at them. You know why? Because every now and then I get a comment from episode 12. And I'm like, exactly. And someone's watched it and gone, I don't agree with that, or I agree with that. I'm like, what the hell was that episode about? I've got to go back and have a look and
go and watch it.
So at some stage we've got to put a caveat on that saying, we're up to episode 400 and people are saying, I want to discuss what you said in episode 3.
Yeah, sorry.
I think it's going to be a bit tricky. Maybe we have to turn the comments off after a year of the episode or something.
Yeah, possibly. It's like, we've moved forward.
Yeah,
what we should do is hide a comment in one of the episodes. Like the first person that finds it wins a prize or something, and then they've got to go back and scour through
every hours and hours of us talking.
I could add all kinds of, because I do the edit, so it's on me. It's all happens in the edit. Everyone knows that, so I can add and take things away in these little videos. So that could be fun.
Yeah. You know what would be a good idea, but I don't think would work very well. It's like a code word. I've heard some podcasts have a code word in there that people have to listen all the way through. Yeah,
it's a stinker of an idea. I would never.
Well, it's a bit dishonest, sort of, in a way. Like if you don't listen to the entire episode,
please,
and hear the code word,
nothing but gimmicks.
It is gimmicks. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Hey, one other thing I've noticed: we're back in the charts. No. Well, we're back in the charts.
That's awesome.
Through some miracle of Apple podcast charting,
who knows?
We're charting up pretty high again. So
charting a storm.
Yeah, good job, folks, for listening and downloading and whatever else. Who knows what the algorithm is?
Sharing, all that sort of stuff. Cam,
yes.
What's going on with your background tonight?
I'm in a shed.
No, you kind of are.
I am in a shed. I stuck down. So this is a shot from the Flinders Rangers workshop just a few weeks ago. And I don't know, we visited this it's an old church or a town hall. It's actually both. It's a town hall and a church. And it's a beautiful little building. It's always got some great characteristic. The grass around the back, it's got an old water tank and a few things like that. It's got barbed wire fences around the outside of it, further out of the frame. But I like this shot. It's really symmetrical. I like the light on it and the blue sky and the clouds. And it's a front-on shot, obviously. It's just a cool little place, and it's just the light that got me. It was just the orange and the yellow and all that working together. The guests were all around the outside shooting it. The crack in the front's really good. The shadow in the sky in the door I enjoyed as well. So, but it's a really cool spot, and all the way through South Australia. This is something I think South Australia isn't known for, but should be. It's all the beautiful little ruins that are all scattered all the way up through to the outback. They're amazing. So. Cousin Dan, or 5-Star Dan, we have a little trivia on the way up because we're on two-way radios and two cars. And I might have told you this one in another episode, I don't know, but there's actually a reason why when you drive up through the outback, all these old dwellings have no roofs on them. Have you heard of this one?
No, but I'd like to have a crack at it.
There's a reason why all the dwellings don't have roofs on them on the way up. And a lot of outback, especially in South Australia, a lot of these outback properties have things just like this, but no roofs on them. So have a guess as to why there's no roof on them.
Oh, without wanting to waste too much time on it. Has it got something to do with firewood?
No, it's got a lot to do with taxes.
Really?
So this is what 5-Star Dan came up with, and I thought he was talking a heap of poo when he said it. But the reason being apparently is that at some stage when these farms and homesteads started getting a lot bigger and all these dwellings were on the thing, they started trying to tax the farmers or the property owners for all the dwellings they had on the properties. So to get around that, a great Australian way of doing it, as always, is that they took all the roofs off the dwellings and said, well, they're not dwellings because you can't live in them.
See, that's the Aussie way.
Not paying tax. Yeah, I love it. If there's a way to get around the government, we'll do it. Yeah. But a great little fun fact, if you're driving up the Outback Highway, I think it's called, and you see all these houses without roofs on them, that is why.
This is an aside, and we will get to some photography talk soon, folks. The other night I watched an episode of the ABC show Backroads. Do you know about this series?
Yeah, yes, I do.
And they did the Strzelecki track, which starts at the northern end of the Flinders Ranges, I believe.
Yes, I believe it does.
Heads up to Inaminka.
Yes.
Mate, I'm just like, get me out there. That just looks amazing. And there was buildings like the one behind you, all scattered all through it. Old pubs, old telegraph stations. There was rusted old cars. I'm just like, drooling. Can I comment on your photo? And look,
sure. I
want to make something really clear. We know this. A lot of people listen to this. We've had 10,000 downloads audio wise, and yes, we are fully aware that we're trying to talk about photos on an audio.
So picture in your mind a little stone hut with a blue background, sky, and close your eyes.
Do yourselves a favor, folks. It is available on YouTube. I'm sure you're all aware of that. But if you are new, you can see everything that we're talking about on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search the Down South Photo Show and you will find us. Or, of course, there's a link in the description as well. But the comment I wanted to make about that photo is that photo works so damn well because of the blue sky you've got. How's the contrast that you've got there?
Yeah.
Now, normally, that to me, it looks like that's probably maybe an hour or so before golden hour or after. I'm not sure when the orientation, but it's probably taken outside golden hour. But it still works so well because of that fantastic contrast you've got with the blue sky. And I'm going to hazard a guess and say that's a sandstone building, I guess.
Yeah, I think they are all sandstone. This is actually taken around about almost lunchtime.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. And the secret, this is something I drill home to people every time I do a workshop. Some people listen, some don't. Polarizing filter. Mm-hmm. Because without the polarizing filter, you just don't get this brilliant blue sky as prominent, and that contrast that you're talking about, you just don't get it. So it's one of the easiest ways to improve your landscape photography is put a polarizer on the front of your lens. So, but there's also things we talk about like complementary colors that work really well together, like blues and greens and reds and yellows and things like that. I think oranges and blue work really nicely together, which is why I think in the outback, when you've got these great colors that we have in the outback, when you get those beautiful blue sky days, they actually work pretty well. So,
so I love I love contrast on purpose, which is what that photo is. A lot of people say that such clashing colors wouldn't normally work, but I think when it's not naturally occurring because it's a building, but you know what I'm saying? Like, particularly in outback Australia, the red earth and the blue skies. If you're going anywhere near Central Australia, do not leave home without a polarizing filter. You will regret it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's a definite, and I think anywhere, like even a lot of people sort of say, even in Tassie you use a polarizer. You go into the forest, like we've got probably the best forest almost in the world down here in Tassie, and I get people to stop in the forest and say, right, tell me what's reflecting light here. What's reflecting the skylight? And everyone's like, oh, can't really see. I'm like, there is millions of leaves. Every single one of them is reflecting the skylight above us. So you polarize that light and you get the true greens and yellows and reds of all those leaves versus that reflective sort of color. It makes a huge difference. So,
It does.
they're only about $50, $60, maybe $100, depending on what quality you go.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter what quality you go. Just put one on your lens. And the other thing is to make sure you spin it enough so you can see the adjustment. A lot of people just hardly turn it and get the shits with it and go, can't see it, and they throw it out. You've got to I give it a couple of spins just so you can sort of see where that sweet spot is. You really
see the difference. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I had this very conversation this evening. Shout out to Jeff, who joined me this evening for an impromptu shoot down here on the Bellarine. Jeff's an avid listener, and Jeff joined us on the overland track. So it was great to see you, Jeff. But we were talking about using the polarizing filters when you're out shooting, and the difference it really does make to your imagery. So
this shot behind you that you're going to explain, is that the one from tonight with Jeff?
Yes, it was actually.
And is there a polarizing filter used with that?
No. And I will tell you why. There is a very,
you're shooting into the sun.
Big reason why there is no polarizer on that, and that's because I can't find a polarizer for my iPhone.
Is that an iPhone shot?
Yes, I'm afraid it is. I haven't had a chance to edit the ones out of the camera yet. That is straight out of my iPhone. And what Jeff and I were talking about was polarization, just staying on your topic, is very difficult to achieve in Photoshop. Very difficult. In fact, I'd say impossible. It's an optical effect, it's basically an analog effect. It's not, you can't replicate it digitally. So anywho, that's the Barwon Heads Bridges. Awesome spot for photography. We took our participants there on the workshop we ran back a couple of months ago. We got served up a rather tasty sunset tonight. It wasn't the best sunset I've ever seen, but it certainly didn't disappoint. As you can see, a fair bit of color going on there. It was quite enjoyable. Yeah.
Those sunsets are always better than the ones you don't see.
Well, that's exactly right. It was awesome to be there. I always love going to these places that I've been to 1,000 times. Cam, is that out? It looks going too high to me.
I think it might be a bit high, but we're not watching cricket while we're doing a podcast. And has he hit it? He hasn't hit it. No.
He hasn't hit it, but it looks like it's going over the top to me.
It looks a bit high. But anyway, moving on.
But that taking someone there who's first timer, I love it because it gives you, it breathes new life into it. You see it literally see it through someone else's eyes, Yeah. It's I really enjoyed tonight. It was great. One, to catch up with Jeff, but also to go to that location with fresh eyes. It was brilliant. Yeah.
One other thing with the polarizing that you need to be aware of for folks that might be listening, that is out, yes, is that polarizers work best if you have the sun 90 degrees to where you're shooting. So that's side lighting. If you're shooting into the sun or away from the sun, you're not going to see that polarizer effect much. And that's a bit of a mistake people make when they put them on. And that's where they get a little bit narky with the idea of these polarizers, because they shoot into the sun or away from the sun and can't see the effects of it. But essential. But beautiful spot down there. Except when the tide comes in and you get washed away.
I actually showed Jeff how high the tide was when we were there, and he was like, what? Like, because when we were there tonight, it was low tide. It was way out. So.
Okay. That's very good.
Should we talk some photography essential kind of stuff?
Yeah, I have no idea what we're talking about tonight. You gave me a list of 1,000 different topics.
We've got a couple of topics tonight. I want to kick off with one that I get asked regularly. Well, probably the outside of actual cameras, the question I get asked a lot is, what editing software should I use or do you use? And we've banged on many, many times about the Adobe products. They don't sponsor the show. Why would they? They're huge. No. When your product becomes part of the vernacular. So, like, for example, in the UK, they don't vacuum the floor; they hoover the floor.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
We don't hang the washing out on the clothesline. It's on the Hills hoist.
Or you use a biro. Biro is a brand name. It's also in the UK, you drive a transit van, not a van, a transit van. Brand names.
Hello,
anyway,
shout out to all our UK listeners out there.
That's right. Oh, hey, there's plenty of them. And in photography, it's Photoshop. You've photoshopped that. Now, they might not even used Photoshop. They'd probably use some, but Photoshop is the blanket term for editing these days.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
So an Adobe Photoshop is what I use a lot, and I know you're more of a Lightroom user. But look, essentially they're really not that different, are they?
I don't. That discussion comes up a bit about Photoshop versus Lightroom, and you're right, they're one of the same thing, really.
They are. At their heart, the reason is Adobe Camera Raw, really, which is what we.
Well, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and they're one of the same thing, because at the end you get a photo that's edited.
Correct.
Like I couldn't look at your photo or my photo, any other photo, and go, yeah, that's on Photoshop. Actually, that's on Lightroom, or Capture One, or Darktable, or whatever the other one's called. And
that's right.
Yeah. So
or Nick.
That's Nick Effects.
Nick Effect, all those
Nick collections. Anyway,
so what do you use to edit? Right, on Photoshop. Okay, you must have a fairly powerful PC. And what I wanted to talk a bit tonight about is how powerful a PC do you need to edit your photos? It's not a topic that we talk about a lot, and to be honest, it's not my strong suit, and probably not yours either. But it's something we get asked a bit.
Good topic, then.
Yeah. So next topic. Let's talk about.
Are we ringing a friend, or does it dial a friend, or
no? Look, essentially, my understanding, and I've been doing it for a long time. I've been using Photoshop for a long, long time. Is it's all to do with the amount of RAM that you've got on your computer.
As in a sheep.
Yeah, that's right. Random access memory. And what you need is a minimum, in my opinion, and the industry's opinion, of 16 gigabytes of RAM. So if you're out there and you're using Photoshop and you're getting frustrated because it keeps crashing, or because you can't edit, or you do one change and it takes 3 minutes to make that change, folks, your RAM needs to be improved. What's happened over time...
Or you've got so much porn on your computer that you need to really delete some files.
You probably need to clear that hard drive. And the issue that happens is, Cam, you'll go out and you'll buy this awesome new camera. You know, it might be full frame. It might be a 50 megapixel. Whoa, latest and greatest. But you don't upgrade your PC or your laptop. And here you are trying to edit file sizes that are 10 times bigger than you previously had on the same old system. It gets really frustrating when you're trying to edit these photos and your system can't keep up.
Totally.
Yeah, so basically, just get more RAM.
Get more RAM. So there's a couple of things I can add to that. So you're right. Yeah, definitely. Random access memory is one of the big, and it's not hard to update your RAM. Well, most computers is not anyway. Generally, you can almost do it yourself if you're savvy enough.
Yep.
Most computers, a lot of people make the mistake. They go to, Harvey Norman, our friends at Harvey Norman, and say, look, I need a computer for laptop for editing photos. The person that works there has no idea what they're talking about, and they give you the cheapest, whatever it is, and you got bugger all RAM and slow processes.
They give you the one that gets them a trip to Fiji. We know this.
That's the one. As we speak, there's an ad for Harvey Norman on the TV here. There you go. And there you go. There's a laptop for sale. There we go. 8 gig of RAM.
Not big enough. Sorry, don't buy it. Not good enough.
It's $1,400. So that's what they're doing. They're advertising these things. At the most, they've got 16 gig of RAM on board. My Mac that I'm recording on here has 64 gigabytes of RAM. So I've updated mine.
Fantastic.
Upgraded mine. But another thing that helps is also your processor speed of the computer.
Yes.
And also, especially if you're using Lightroom, this is one thing I probably don't like about Lightroom as opposed to Photoshop, is Lightroom is a complete suite, a complete catalog of your images. So you're putting all your images into this program to hold, and that takes up room. So the more you put into that program, the more images that are in your catalogs, the more information that Lightroom has to hang on to. So what I do is, and that chews up hard drives and fills up hard drives in the computer, where as opposed to Photoshop, you can have all your photos on an external hard drive and just edit them one at a time from there. So there's a bit of a difference there. But what I've found out over the years is that I have all my images and my raw images not on my big Mac. I have them on an external hard drive attached to this Mac, just so it helps the computer not have to chew up so much hard drive space.
Yep.
And then combined with the RAM and a good processing speed, then, it still freezes every now and then if you're doing lots of work. Or, when I had that GFX 100 Fuji, like they're 120 meg files each file. Crazy. So if you go out and do 1,000 shots on a trip, you come back to edit that. That's going to take a long time to edit because they're big files. But you're right. RAM power, good fast processing power, and try and keep your hard drive as clear as possible, especially if you're using Lightroom. But there's options around that as well. But that's probably a deeper topic. Yeah.
And I'll tell you that I think it was about 2018, 2019, the thing that really made a big difference when I was editing photos was I bought a PC that had SSD, which is a solid state drive. So rather than having a spinning hard drive, it actually had an SSD. Now, an SSD, in layman's terms, really, it's a gigantic memory card that goes inside your camera. So there's no inside your computer. There's no moving parts. It doesn't spin up the hard drive. It literally has memory. So it's like as I say, it's a big memory card that can be accessed very, very quickly. So when I switched to SSD, everything improved a lot for me. When I was getting photos, what I try and do is exactly what you said: external hard drive for when to offload images. So if I've built up quite a catalog over a year, it's funny. I find spring is a good time to do it for some reason. I think of spring cleaning. I clean up the PC as well. Offload stuff onto a hard drive or the cloud, wherever you want to access it from.
Yeah.
And away you go. But yeah, switching to an SSD was a big change, and I've never looked back. And every PC I've built since has got a decent old SSD in it.
I think that's the one mistake people make when they're looking to maybe upgrade a computer or get a system that's going to do their editing, is they look at hard drive space. And like you said, they don't necessarily look at RAM or processing speed. And I don't know, I think I was guilty of it for a while as well. I'm like, I need more hard drive space because that's why it's slowing it down, because I've got so many photos on this hard drive and it's just taking forever. But random access memory is pretty much allowing your computer to think quicker. It's able to juggle more balls at once instead of having to think about it or concentrate too much. It can pick information up left, right, and center. So depending on what you're using, if you've got a desktop computer, whether or not it's a Mac or a PC, you can upgrade RAM quite easily. My understanding is most computers have at least 2 RAM slots that you can put new RAM in there, but they have to be the same RAM size. Correct. So you can't put in a 16 gig and a 32 gig together. They've got to be either 2 16s or 2 32s. So you can do it. Laptops are a bit different. Laptops are generally a little bit less room to play with, but you can still do it with. So yeah, it's worth having a look or having a talk to your computer.
What really surprised me is because I'm actually in the market for a new laptop at the moment, just to be a bit more mobile with my editing. And of course, 16 gig of RAM was the bare bones starter. That's all I'm looking at the moment. Like, righto, which laptop's got that? Big companies, Dell, Asus, Sony, all these guys are making laptops with 16 gig of RAM for $1,000. Or less. It's amazing how the prices have come down so much on this kind of hardware now. And I don't know, one laptop from the other, and I am basing it around price. But if I happen to find a 32 gig RAM laptop for $1,200 and I recognize the brand name, I'll probably buy it.
Yeah,
it'll probably.
And you're definitely a PC user.
I'm a PC user, yes.
Or Windows. I use all my stuff with Mac.
Yep.
So I've got my MacBook Pro as well, which I take out on the road with me, and I think that's got maybe 32 gig of RAM in it, which is great. Again, I keep all my images on an external hard drive when I go away. I almost have like a travel hard drive that I take, and then I can just dump photos on there and do my little bit of editing as I want. But yeah, there's definitely options out there. Just do a little bit of research on the RAM, people, and what's available. Like, it was just uncanny that the Harvey Norman ad came on and it was 8 gig of RAM.
Yes.
Because it looks good and the price looks good, but if the RAM's quite low, like Brendan said, 16 gig of RAM is at least a minimum.
Yeah.
And in regards to processing speeds, like, I'm not too sure about, like, we're into the 3.5 gigahertz or whatever they are. So if it's only like a 2 gigahertz or a 1.8 gigahertz laptop or something like that, it's going to be pretty slow as well. So
recommendations are normally around the 3.5 gigahertz processor, if you can get one. But the thing you got to remember as well, it's not just so. For example, what is happening right now on my screen in front of me? I've got Photoshop open over here. I've got a web browser open over here. I've got the cricket happening down here. I've got a Zoom call happening with my good friend Cam Blake. It's all happening at once. Can you imagine the amount of processing power that's going on here to handle this? So that's why, I need that kind of RAM. But 16 starting point.
Yeah. And it just depends as well. Like, you can go crazy. If you're one of these people that likes to buy, whatever you can get your hands on, you can go out and get amazing computers that do all the editing and do it easily without sort of stopping. But you got to think about how much money you're going to spend on a computer. But if, like you said, if you've got heaps of stuff open and you're trying to run emails and watch TV and do other stuff in it at the same time, then your computer asking a lot of your computer. So some people even get dedicated editing computers only, and they do all their editing purely on that, and then they have the rest of their stuff on another computer. Yeah, horses for courses. But like I would suggest go speak to your local computer shop about, I want to do editing, I want to use Lightroom or Photoshop. This is the size of the files I'll be editing most times, and they'll be able to sort of sort you out somehow.
Absolutely, which sort of segues or dovetails nicely into the secondary topic that I wanted to bring up tonight, and that is revisiting your old photos. Now, I'm guilty as charged of this. I'll go out on a shoot like I did tonight, for example. I might take, let's say, 100 frames in RAW and JPEG. I'll come back, I'll load them up on a PC, I'll pick the eyes out of it and go, that's good, that was what I was hoping for. Let's say, for example, I pluck out 10 photos, shove them across into the keepers folder, and the rest just gets consigned to history. They're still there, but they just get shoved aside. And I get all excited about the bangers that we keep talking about. Yeah. And then just completely forget about these other photos. Now, quite recently, I found a series of photos that I shot at Point Lonsdale in 2016, Cameron.
Nice.
And I went through them and I went, oh my God, that's a great photo. Why didn't I do anything with it? Oh, there's another one. What the hell? It's so easy to do, to get carried away with the the instant rush of seeing the great photo. And that's cool. But people, go back through your back catalog. And that's why it's so important, in my opinion, to shoot RAW and JPEG at the same time, and to have that RAW file sitting there so that you can come back to it. Would you agree, Ken?
Yeah, I do the same. And I've changed my method a bit over the years. I've changed my method from doing exactly what you did. Go out and take 50 shots of the hut behind me, pick 2 or 3 that I like, put the rest on a hard drive, edit these ones, and then, it always happens. Someone says, oh, do you have a picture of that little church on the way up to the Flinders Ranges? Yeah, I've got some somewhere. I think I went there and whatever. And I go back and look at the file, and then I go through and like, oh, holy shit, there's a whole heap of really good ones in here.
Yeah.
That I did miss. But what I did, because I found myself taking a lot of shots, and I don't, like you said, I only picking a couple of dozen from that trip to work on. The rest just get left and stored away somewhere else. What I'm trying to do now is actually take less photos when I'm out there, and make sure that the photos I get while I'm out there are going to be really good ones as much as I can, or as often as I can, because it does 2 things. One, it stops you having huge amounts of hard drives taken up with images that you're never looking at. It makes you a better shooter, I think, because you're concentrating more in the field. But it also makes it easier to go through those old photos and say, right, well, I only took 50 from that weekend away. Yeah, so it's easier to look through and sort them out. But yeah, I've done it a few times, and probably the best example of that is the overland track. So every time before I go on the overland track, I'm like, oh, we're going. And I remember I went in September last time, back in 2000 and whatever, and I go back and have a look at some of those photos, and there's always bangers in there. It's like, why did I not look at that? So maybe your eye changes over the years. We might get better at what we're doing, but yeah, definitely go back and have a look at some of the old shots you've done. Yeah, and you might find an absolute gem in there.
You will. And the point of this is, as you progress your photographic knowledge, one thing that comes naturally with that is your editing skills, or are your editing skills. Being able to edit images in a manner that you like, in a way that becomes almost like your signature, or part of the process now is editing the photos. If you've got these older photos from back when you were a beginner, or just learning the ropes, you might have a couple of great photos there, but you had no idea how to clean them up or how to edit them properly. Now you do. So it's making yourself a little like a little time capsule, where you can go back and you can apply your current day knowledge to older shots. The other amazing thing that's happened in the last definitely couple of years is programs like Topaz with their sharpening. Photoshop now has a very, very good sharpening tool built into it as well. So back in 2009, when you got your first digital SLR and it was an 8 megapixel Olympus E300 or a 8 megapixel Canon 300D, and the resolution might not have been great. Well, now you can grab that photo, you can chuck it through sharpening, denoise,
gigapixel.
Gigapixel, that's the one I was looking for. Absolutely breathe brand new life into these older images. It's a great rainy day project. True. Although last week we said you got to go out and take photos in the rain. You know what I mean? When you got a bit of downtime.
When your camera's broken because you got that shot that you didn't want to miss. That's right. And you lost it. You lost it.
And now you can't take photos anymore, so you're relying on your back catalogue
to get you through. Your old catalog. Hey, question for you. Speaking of going back, I
love your questions without notice. It's great.
Yeah, they're great. Speaking of your images, going back and looking through old images and using old photos with new technology, your little beautiful shot of the kangaroo hopping across the lake, you could probably do something completely different with that photo now, editing wise.
Yeah.
Like you could sharpen it up. You could probably increase color. You could, because that was a film shot, now you could probably go back and fix it because that's one of your most popular, if not the most popular shot you've done.
Yeah.
Would you go back and change it? Would you go back with the new technology and change it to maybe make it look better?
I don't know. You can't improve perfection.
I'll set them up. You knock them down.
It is the closest I've come to a perfect photo, and yes, wanker alert.
Wah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wanker alert.
I look at that photo on the regular and just go, I'm so lucky to have that shot.
Yeah.
And no, the answer is I don't think. Look, aside from, there's actually a few little blemishes on it from the processing on it, but only I know where they are, and I know because I enlarge that photo up and look at it. And it's a bit noisy. It was shot on 400 ISO film, so it's a little bit grainy. Other than that, maybe a bit of that.
Would you go back with the file and just clean it up so it prints better?
Maybe,
if you haven't already.
Maybe. I haven't touched that file since probably 2008. I just keep replicating it, and no one seems to complain. So,
so the reason,
I don't think so. I don't think I'd be bothered to change that particular image.
Yeah, the reason I asked that because I've got my shot, that Aurora shot down the tessellated pavement,
of course,
and everyone says to me, "Oh, you've overprocessed the shit out of that." Like for people that don't understand what it is, like that is almost out of camera. It's just a little bit of contrast. That's it. Like the raw file looks almost the same as that file. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it's always got me thinking now, like that was 2015, I think it was, or 16, that I could go back, I could probably clean it up with noise. It's a little bit noisy because it's on a smaller sensor back then and 16 megapixels. I could probably do a bit of mucking around with that so it prints better and looks better. But again, I'm the same as you. I haven't. But I'm tempted now to go back through some of these shots that I'm really proud of and go back and play with the new technology and maybe do certain things. And I've even done it once or twice on some photos. I've actually gone back to the raw file and just as like I said, a rainy day project, just gone and re-edited it based on what I'm feeling these days about photography. And funnily enough, they come up relatively similar.
Yeah.
So it's a style.
That makes sense to me. But it would be interesting though, wouldn't it? To get a photo, only look at the raw file, don't compare it to the edit at the time, re-edit it now and compare the pair. And see.
We know what we should do. We should do, between the two of us, you send me a raw shot of a photo of yours.
This is a good idea.
And I send you a raw shot of a photo of mine.
Yep.
And you edit and I edit, and then we'll bring it maybe next episode. We'll bring it back. We'll bring it back and say, all right, this is it. But I don't want to see how you've edited it before.
I will literally just send you the raw file.
Send me the raw file of a photo that I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think
and I'll
I'll
send you one of mine that you probably don't know that I've still edited, and then we'll compare the pair. I think that'd be pretty fun.
That will be interesting, and yeah, because
especially for a non-visual podcast, it's going to be awesome.
Well, it's funny, I know photographers who don't edit their own stuff. They send the raw files to companies offshore to edit for them. Now,
competitions with those edits.
It's that too. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because to me,
just stop for a second, time out for a second.
Yes.
Does that not just listen to the entire audience go, what the actual F are you talking about? People take photos, send them away for someone else to edit them, bring them back and enter competitions and have one. Yeah. Like, just let that sink in for a sec, folks.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's not good, is it?
No, it's not good. Sorry.
It's okay. Bairstow just dropped another catch. That's okay.
I saw that.
He has genuinely just completely fluffed his lines again. Anyway, there's now I put myself in some photographer's shoes, particularly wedding photographer's shoes. Yeah, mate, when you're faced with 2,000 images to edit, maybe I can understand, particularly if the edits are rudimentary, like that's just a bit of cleanup, as you say, contrast, maybe a bit of whatever, maybe they're tidy, maybe they're taking, a bin out of a background or something, or a power line. I get that. But to send a photo off to have it edited, the composition in theory shouldn't change, but the lighting, the shadows, all that sort of stuff, which should be purely in the control of the photographer. That's not cool, is it?
I have a story which may or may not get me in trouble, but I'll put it out there anyway.
I am in charge of the edit. I'll say it again.
Okay, there's no names going to be mentioned. There won't be any legal issues, but there was a photographer I know and still know of, who won a fairly big competition a few years back of an image they did. And the image itself, it looks amazing. Like when you see it in print, it's a brilliant photo. So as we were talking about it, just chewing the fat, crossing paths. Oh, well done, you won that thing. And blah, blah, blah. And I think we must have been at a function where they were discussing this. And all of a sudden, this person started saying, oh, yeah, well, such and such helped me with that bit of the edit. And then such and such helped me do this. And like they had about 3 or 4 different people help them with this image. And then the kicker for it, there was a certain element of this photo that just made the photo. Right. Like that one of those moments where you go, my God, how did you get that there at that time? That's amazing. Well, that bit that made the photo was also added in by one of the editors, because one of the editors went, oh, you know what this is really missing? It needs something like this or that. And this person was telling me this, and they had all the pride in the world that they won this award. And it was within the rules at the time, as long as you disclose that someone else has edited your photo. Like some of the bigger awards that you can say, yes, I took the photo, but it was actually edited by X, Y, or Z. And this person was sitting there as proud as punch that they won this competition, and a bit of money with it, I assume, as well. And I just couldn't get my head around. I'm like, you're sitting here telling me that you've just done such a great job with this, but all you've done is pressed a button. Someone else has put the vision to it. Yes, the composition is great, but they've also added something else into that composition to make it look nicer. And you're sitting here with broad shoulders saying that you've done a really good job. It turned me right off this person, to be honest, because it just made me think that, well, this is not a photographer. This is someone who is just driven to win awards or win money or get their name out there. And I think that's, again, I've said it 1,000 times on this show, that's totally against my grain. Yeah. But yeah, the fact that, you can go and edit stuff and have someone else do it for you.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you, like the wedding industry and things like that. Yeah. If you got 2,000 shots from a wedding,
real estate, I get it.
Real estate. And a lot of people do that. Real estate's a very popular one where people send them away. But when it's your personal imagery that you're the artist putting this bit of art out and only 10% of it's been done by you. Yeah. No, sorry. I lose all respect.
I'm with you. Anyway, we got right off topic, but that's what we do on the Down South Photo Show. Dsps.com.au, folks. Hit the website. You got all the stuff on. You can order a hoodie, Cameron.
Yeah, you could.
On dsps.com.au. Hang on. He's gone off camera. There he is. He's back. Wow. Is that my grey hoodie?
No, yours is in the mail already.
Aren't they great?
Yeah, they smell new.
Big fan.
Yeah, that's a grey one.
Fan of our merch.
And we have black as well.
We do. All right. Superb. Well, I'm looking forward to getting my grey hood. I'm going to wear it on the show next week.
I think you should wear it with pride.
Speaking of new, Brendan's got a new lens.
Ooh. You as in you.
Speaking in what do they call it? Third person.
Speaking in this, yeah.
I've got a new lens. So
cool.
Just swinging into a little bit of gear talk quickly.
Is it an Olympus one?
Today, I acquired an Olympus 60mm macro lens.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 150 to 400.
No. The 60mm macro, bizarrely enough, is a lens I've had my eye on for ages. Just haven't pulled my finger out and actually gone and bought the thing. It's not an expensive lens. No. But Jeff, the reason Jeff was down on the Ballerine today was he was delivering me my lens because he personally delivered. He bought an new OM1, and Olympus were throwing in a free lens, and so he chose the 60mm macro that he already owned, knowing that it would be probably the most easy one to move on. And he was right, because as soon as he put it up on eBay, on Facebook, I said, "I'll have that, thanks, mate."
Right. And he'll deliver it for you. The 60mm macro is a great little lens. It's tiny, isn't it? And light. And does one-to-one macro. It's great.
Yeah, I can see it opening up a lot of new avenues for photography for me. I've wanted to do macro for years, and I've had macro lenses before. I always sort of go away from it and end up just shooting more landscape, which is fine. But macro to me is the gap that I need in the downtime when I'm out shooting landscape. When I'm waiting for light to happen, 9 times out of 10, I'm an hour, 2 hours too early for the light. Yeah. So when I'm killing time, I want to still be taking photos and grabbing a macro and shooting, for example, the blades of grass that you can see around that building behind you, or, close-ups of some of these pylons here with mollusks on them and stuff like that, or shells on the beach, or literally grains of sand that this macro lens can handle. Really excited for it. I did a couple of quick test shots in the backyard, as you do when you get new gear. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff.
It is a good lens, that one. And I've taken it down the overland track 1,000 times, I reckon, because not only is it a great macro lens, but it's, telephoto, really. It's 120mm macro or telephoto lens, which works really well. And it's 2.8.
At f2.8. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great little thing. So I think you'll have a lot of fun with it.
I'm really glad. I did say that we might end up at some point doing a what's in the bag. It'd be interesting, what do we carry around with us regularly? We won't do it tonight, but at some point we'll do that. Because my little kit is growing really well. I'm very, very happy with my kit again. I wasn't for ages. It was just a Frankenstein kind of kit with Nikon this and Pentax that and Canon this and Sony that.
Now you've just seen the light. You've gone Olympus. And...
Well, and the catalyst for that was doing the overland and wanting to have smaller and lightweight gear. So I went with the OM5, and then all of a sudden you get kind of bombarded with all the Olympus chatter about this lens and that lens, and it's like, I think I've been roped back in well and truly.
No, it's a good system, as most systems are. So, I don't have any new gear. But I know someone who does, and I think she does listen. Her name's Rhonda. I won't tell you where she's from or where she lives in case she gets bombarded with people at her front door. But she just picked up her new 150 to 400 Olympus lens. It's taken a while. It's taken a few months, but she has received it, and she's one happy little camper.
Well, I wish I could use a... what is it, 150 to 400 lens?
It's a 150. That's the big white Olympus lens. I may or may not have one on order myself.
I've heard.
But I've got to speak to Market Digidirect about it, because I was expecting it to take another 6 months, and I was just going to pay it off over a bit of time. And he sent me a message the other day. He goes, "Oh, yours will be here in a couple of weeks." I'm like, shit. Okay. How many kiddies do I have? 1, 2. Yeah. So
that's right.
I might get it.
You can go without meals for a little while child, can't you? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The kids don't need education. But I've got a couple of customers who have that lens, and I've had to play around with it at Flinders Ranges the other week, and I put all the bird tracking AI stuff on, and boy, it's a good lens.
Yeah, I guess really the only thing left to say is if I wanted to use a lens like that, it would be help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda.
Oh, that's terrible.
Thank you
that's
very
almost
much.
That's almost as much bad humor as another podcast I used to listen to.
Beer donations. Thanks to Mel H for giving us a beer. Head to dsps.com.au, buy us a beer if you want to. If you want to, no pressure.
I think it was Mel. I'll just double check that it wasn't Jenny C, because Jenny C usually buys us a beer as well.
Yeah, but that's fine, Jenny, if you didn't, but we're not upset.
Didn't, what? Yeah,
no. I'm enjoying a beer as we speak, so thank you to the beer donations for this week.
Yeah, that's great. As we speak, the votes are coming in thick and fast on these
already.
Photos, Brendan.
This is what I like to hear. This is good.
We have a
little bit of homework for our listeners. A little bit of homework for our listeners. One, jump on the Facebook page and vote for your favorite photo of our top 5. That's one. 2, give us a bit of feedback about the timing of the releasing of the podcast. If you like the new format where we're releasing the YouTube video on the Friday night and then the actual audio podcast on the Monday morning for your commute to work. Was there any other feedback we were after this week, Cam?
I think that's about all we can handle feedback-wise.
Isn't it a ridiculous time of year for sport on TV?
It is a bit stupid. We've got the Ashes.
It's about to get even more crazy.
Well, you know what I'm really excited about is the Soccer World Cup. For the Women's Soccer World Cup starts tomorrow.
Correct.
My daughter...
I know your daughter's a big fan.
Yeah, she plays a bit of soccer, and she's got, thank you to my mate Scott, who does a lot of the printing for a lot of soccer clubs around Australia. He gave me a personalised Aussie Matildas shirt for her with the name on the back. So tomorrow night, which is Thursday night at 8 o'clock, it all kicks off in Sydney. 82,000 people. That's incredibly good.
That is good.
So,
so we've got that. Kicks off at 8 o'clock. What's that? Thursday night.
Night.
The fourth test kicks off at 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
Yes.
Cam Smith tees off in the Open at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. I'm going to need more than one screen, I tell you.
The footy is on this week as well.
Footy and everything. So, yeah.
We're
going to talk about Melbourne's awesome win over Brisbane. No, we won't talk about that. Let's move on and close this show down.
There is no footy on until Friday, which is good.
Yes, it is. Cam, what do you got coming up?
What have I got coming up? I got another few days until I do my OM day down at Port Arthur.
That's exciting.
In Tassie. Yeah, it is exciting. I might actually have a very exciting little announcement for those who, this has only come about today. For those who want to go to the Tarkine, which is in the northwest Tassie corner, it is a stunning location for photography.
Pick me.
Pick you. At the moment, I've got a tour penciled in for later next month, but it's been very quiet for some reason, which is fine. But what has happened today, the Tasmanian government has released specialised tourism grants for the west coast of Tasmania, because if you've ever been to Strahan or Queenstown, there's that railway. It runs through the bush and the wilderness. Well, they actually closed down for winter. They said, no, we're not running it in winter. And that's a very big draw card on the west coast of Tasmania. But because that's shut down for winter, there's not as many tourists getting off the boat and turning right, going that way. So they've got an initiative out there saying that we can apply for these grants, so to speak. And what they'll do is we are allowed to offer our customers a discount on tourism in that period of time. And they'll match the discount for us. They'll give us the discount back. So for example, if I have a Tarkine workshop, I can take 50% off it. You win, everyone else wins, they get 50% off, but I still get my full price based on what I'd normally charge. So
what a fantastic incentive.
It's unbelievable. And I've just applied today, and I think fingers crossed I might be successful.
Well, we'll announce that next week if you are.
Yeah,
I'm sure as you will through your channels as well.
Absolutely. So keep an eye out for that. If you've ever wanted to go to the Tarkine, it'll be around about the 26th to the 30th of August. So it's only a month and a bit away. And we'll probably only have about 5 spots for that. But keep in mind, if you are keen to do that, this could be a way to do it with a heavy discount. So I will announce it as soon as I hear more.
How exciting. That is cool.
How exciting. And in a couple of weeks, I'm doing the Three Capes walk down on the Tasman Peninsula. I've decided to go for a hike.
You can just be quiet now. Just
maybe I'll do a mini video from there. Okay. What are you going to do, Brendan? What's up with you?
What's up with me? I say this weekly. I feel I've got the best customers in the world. Ocean Grove Camera and Photo. Busy,
and
busy.
I say every time, that's not what you tell me.
Yeah, that's right. Busy. Scanning, my goodness, scanning has taken off. We're scanning lots of slides, lots of old photos, archiving them for people, which I love doing because I tell you what, I'm currently in the middle of scanning 1,000 slides.
And I know about this, yes.
So far, every single one of them is a photo that's taken in Tasmania in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, man, I need to see those.
They are mint. I'm going to actually ask him if I can share some of these images with you because they're not mine, obviously.
Of course, yes.
There's some crackers, absolute crackers from way back when. So very exciting, and he's a lovely man. So I'm sure he'll only too happily share a few.
Can I ask a question? And I don't mean this
question without notice.
I don't mean this to come across as rude or disrespectful.
So
but I've been in your shop a few. I've been in your shop a few times.
Yes,
and there's a bit of an overwhelming demographic of people that come into your shop.
Yes,
I would say they're sort of north of 40, so we say, of age.
Yes.
Would you suggest that maybe a lot of the scanning of negatives you're doing is because you do have an elderly region or a bit of an older demographic in that region who are starting to preserve some memories or do something?
I think it's across the board. So I've spoken with friends of mine that own similar operations. And everyone, and I think it might have been triggered by COVID, to be honest. I think people, in lockdowns and stuff went, okay, I'm at home, I'm going to clean up. And they went and found literally boxes of slides and boxes of prints and stuff. And over time, they're feeding them into us. It's cool. It's cool for a few reasons. One, the archiving, but two, the way that we can clean up images now, like we were just talking about, and breathe new life into these old photos. Mate, I've had tears in my shop. People have seen photos of parents and grandparents that they haven't seen at the price. No, seen photos of parents and grandparents they haven't seen for years since they passed away. And that's quite emotional when we can clean up an image and bring it back to the day it was taken. It's cool. I really get a kick out of it, making old people cry.
Yeah, and I've been there when you've said some really nasty things to people. And, that has been right. No, but like that I think that in itself, and I think this is going to be a wonderful way to finish off the show, is that exactly what you said there to me is the 100% reason why we all should take photographs is because at some stage we're going to look back at these memories. Maybe we get old, maybe we get sick, maybe we can't move around or travel as much. Who knows? Maybe the world goes to shit and we can't go anywhere. These memories that we create are not for just us now to go and have a look at them and feel really good about ourselves taking nice photos. They're for your kids, your grandkids, and so forth. Like the shots you're scanning from Tasmania in the 60s, like that'll be amazing to see because I wasn't there when it's a capsule in time. I've never seen that before. So that should be a driver for everyone taking photos, landscape photography, whatever it is that yes, it's great to live the moment, take the shots, but you're also taking photos for your generations to come afterwards. So that's awesome.
Very well put. Couldn't have put it better myself. That is it. That's the podcast. We will see you guys. Thanks for tuning into episode 87 of the Down South Photo Show. We will see you for episode 88 next week. Bye.
Cheerio.
I like it.